Hey Buddies Raf here. So for this video, we are going to talk about the new fun endgame in Honkai Star Rail has released, which is called Pure Fiction. In order to unlock this game mode, you will need to first unlock Equilibrium 3, and you must have defeated the final boss in the Luofu arc. After that, you will receive a text from some shady dude named Xian. Then he will give you the quest called Yuzi's Clever Decor, which will lead you to the main location of where you will access the game mode. Anyways, just do the quest and follow the markers, and voila, you will have access to this fun bug squashing simulator of a game mode. So in this Pure Fiction game mode, US Trailblazers would need to challenge 4 different stages, unlike the Memory of Chaos that has 12, which means that by just completing the stages 1 to 3 of this game mode, it will be the equivalent of defeating the Memory of Chaos Stage 9, which means easy Stellar Jades for you and me buddies. Anyways, for Pure Fiction, we also get a 2-week rotation of the buffs, depending on the limited banners, which is called Whimsicalities. I know it's a mouthful, but boy, it's really good to have in this game mode. I will show on the screen the buffs you can also apply to both of your team, alongside the major buff of the Whimsicality. Anyways, to 3-star Pure Fiction stages, you need to reach 60,000 points. This can be gained by dealing damage and defeating the enemies. Both team scores will accumulate, so it is possible to come back with one stronger fully built team to cope with your other baby team that you haven't built, because you keep farming relics. Wait, where was I? Oh yeah, 3-staring is easy in this game mode, because per team, the maximum points you can get is 40,000, which means you can get 60,000 easily if you get 40k on the stronger team, and then 20k on the weaker one. That's quick math, yo. Other information that we must keep in mind is that there is no need to watch out for sustain, because the requirement for 3 stars is the 60,000 points, so we might be able to make 4 damage dealer teams. But it's still important to keep your team alive, so bring 1 sustain like Natasha or Lynx for AoE, clutch heals. Anyways, from what I have fought in this game mode, in the first wave there is 13 enemies, then in the second wave there are 14 enemies. Then in the final wave, we get to have 25 enemies. If my counting is correct, we will get a total of 52 enemies per team, and you must defeat them in less than 4 turns in order to get that sweet 40k points. Another tip is for stage 4. For the first 2 waves, you can kill them all easily, but the problem is the final wave. Did you know that you must kill all the small enemies before the boss can be killed in stage 4? The final boss Svarog or Gepard, during the time of recording, has this requirement, so watch out and plan accordingly. But that is only in stage 4, okay, so keep that again in mind. So for the characters, who is the best units to use? It will obviously the Erudition Path users. Yes, even Himiko is so good in this game mode that pairing her up with Herta is so fun. Another fun unit to use is Argenti. Obviously, due to his energy recharge gimmick of killing the small mobs, it means that he can ult for days, like he is Idrila's strongest Knight of Beauty. Jing Yuan is also fun to be used here, considering the amount of enemies he can weakness break and destroy. I also tried using Serval here, and she is viable if you don't have Jing Yuan for that sweet electro damage. Lastly, Qing Kui is viable if there are quantum weak mobs to whittle down, but only use her if you built her, and maybe she is Eidolon 4. Outside of Eruption, of course, another path that is strong in this game mode is the destruction units. I recommend using Jingliu, considering I fought a lot of weak to ice enemies like the Luofu Marastruck, the Big Monkey, and Mobs of Destruction. Clara is also good if you want to use her against the small mob enemies, to whittle them down and deal damage to the boss plus dealing vulnerability to them. Did I say that if you kill small mobs, it will deal a small explosive damage to the surrounding enemies? Blade is also very good with his AoE attacks, and there is kind of a lot of wind-weak enemies, so if you have him, then use him wisely. I know that there are other strong destruction units that I haven't mentioned, but you can freely use them at your own strategy like Danheng Dragon and Alan. Moving on to the path of Nihility, we also have a lot of great units. For the electro-weak enemies, obviously, we can use Kafka to deal AoE damage and trigger Serval's Electrocute effect. She is so good in whittling down enemies in some stages that I begin to question, why is not Destruction? Sampo Koski is also a good wind unit to deal with wind-weak enemies, and despite him scamming me all the time, this is one thing that he didn't fail to deliver. Pilla is also a good ice unit in this game mode, as she helped Jinglu easily defeat the boss and the mobs with her debuffs and buff removal of the Maristruck guys. For the Path of Harmony, obviously, all of them are good as heck, especially Bronya in a turn-limited stage, because we can force our DPS to destroy the enemies in a much faster rate if you built your Bronya properly. Asta is also helpful, as she makes the whole team catch up to the turn limit, so if you have her and you have an open spot, why not use her? Tignon is a no-brainer, as she can enable your DPS like Blade, Jing Yuan, or Jinglu to recharge and reuse their ultimates. A special mention is Huo Huo because she can literally AoE energy recharge the whole team so you can enable them to deal damage to the enemies. For the Path of the Hunt, honestly, they are not the best in this mode unless you are Seele. Seele can clean the boss, then have a turn reset, to clean the other mobs, or to kill another elite enemy, which makes her so good for double DPS teams if she is paired with an AoE damage dealer. I think I forgot to mention, but Ruan Mei is also pretty busted with double DPS teams, and she is honestly just like Asta, but more prominent with her additional buffs to break effects and penetration. Topaz is also good, but not the best if alone. But on the other hand, if paired with another AoE sub-DPS like Welt, Ratio, and Blade, she is going to be so good. And lastly, if you don't have Lynx, you can actually unlock her from this game mode if you finish Stage 2. I will show on the screen when I unlocked her. Considering the game mode is still new, I recommend you guys to try it out first and adjust accordingly to what you think is comfortable for your playstyle. You can try different team comps for this, because your goal is to kill as many enemies as possible. For now, that's all, and if possible, please like and subscribe to support the channel. And so I can keep on pumping out videos like this in the future. And for that, have a good one, buddies. Education? Okay, I suck at this.